Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today, we will learn about the explosive drama unfolding around Martin Gray's desperate schemes to dodge accountability in the scandalous tampering of Monica Quartermain's will. In the shadowy underbelly of Port Charles elite circles, whispers are circulating that Martin Gray, the slick attorney with a knack for slippery escapes, might be plotting to pin the blame squarely on Drew Cain for allegedly meddling with Monica's final wishes. This revelation comes hot on the heels of Ronnie Bard's shocking discovery about the true natures of both Drew and Martin, leaving her teetering on the edge of betrayal and revenge. As tensions simmer in the Quartermain estate, fans can't help but speculate if Ronnie's newfound awareness will shatter Martin's carefully constructed facade or force him into even riskier maneuvers. Imagine the courtroom chaos if these secrets erupt, accusations flying like daggers, alliances crumbling under the weight of deceit. Martin's history of moral ambiguity, from his shady dealings in corporate takeovers to his questionable loyalties during the Casa Dini feuds, only heightens the stakes, painting him as a man cornered by his own ambitions. Delving deeper into the timeline of treachery, it was Martin who masterminded the coercion of Veronica Ronnie Bard into offloading the iconic Quartermain mansion to Drew Cain under false pretenses. Posing as a neutral advisor, Martin leaned heavily on Ronnie, insisting his involvement remained spotless while dangling the threat of full culpability over her head. He painted vivid pictures of iron barred cells and endless legal battles, preying on her vulnerabilities from past financial woes that had left her isolated in high society. As the plot thickens with the emergence of Monica's authentic will tucked away in a nondescript box dispatched by the cunning Tracy Quartermain to Lulu Spencer's modest apartment, Martin's contingency plans kick into overdrive. This unexpected delivery, perhaps laced with Tracy's signature meddling notes hinting at family betrayals, accelerates the narrative toward a collision course. Ronnie, once a pawn in this game, now holds fragments of evidence from their clandestine meetings, including encrypted emails that could expose Martin's manipulative tactics if she chooses to wield them. Should Martin foolishly attempt to scapegoat Ronnie directly, her response could ignite a firestorm of counterclaims that engulf him entirely. Picture Ronnie, fueled by a mix of guilt and fury from her recent epiphany about Drew's honorable intentions versus Martin's duplicity, marching into the police station or confronting the Quartermain clan with tales of coercion. Even without ironclad documents, Martin's tech-savvy sidekick might have scrubbed the digital trails her testimony alone carries weight, amplified by her connections to Port Charles' social elite. She could dismantle his reputation brick by brick, branding him as the puppet master behind the fraud and turning whispers into outright ostracism at galas and board meetings. Ronnie's backstory, marked by a resilient rise from humble beginnings to caretaker roles in wealthy households, equips her with the street smarts to rally sympathizers, potentially swaying public opinion through leaked stories to the local press. This retaliation wouldn't just tarnish Martin, it could unravel his professional network, leaving him adrift in a city where trust is currency. Opting for a smarter pivot, Martin might redirect the spotlight onto Drew Cain, the perennial outsider whose rough edges and past vendettas make him an easy target for suspicion. Drew's exclusion from Monica's will, a stinging omission amid the Quartermain legacy, fuels Martin's narrative that Drew orchestrated the tampering as payback for years of familial snubs. Envision Martin spinning a web where Drew exploits Ronnie's naivety, positioning her as an unwitting tool in his quest to seize the mansion and reclaim a slice of Quartermain power. No one in Port Charles would bat an eye at such a tale. Drew's history of bold risks, from his military escapades to corporate espionage flings, lends credibility to the idea of him pulling strings from the shadows. Adding layers to this fabrication, Martin could invent scenarios of Drew's late-night visits to Ronnie, laced with charm and false promises, drawing on Drew's charismatic yet polarizing persona that has alienated even neutral observers like the Corinthos family. To bolster his case, Martin envisions a dramatic reveal, claiming the discovery of Ronnie's incriminating letters stashed in Drew's penthouse, a prop that ties the loose ends neatly for the gullible. This letter, perhaps forged with subtle tweaks to mimic Ronnie's handwriting from her days as a society correspondent, would suggest Drew's master plan to acquire the property once public perception shifted it into her possession. Yet, cracks in this armor emerge swiftly. Ronnie's lingering remorse over the sale might compel her to step forward with clarifications, painting a picture of Martin's threats rather than Drew's deceit. As Drew's legal counsel, Martin's fingerprints would smudge the frame job, inviting scrutiny from the district attorney, who already eyes attorneys entangled in client scandals. This self-inflicted wound could boomerang, with investigators probing Martin's billable hours and private communications, unearthing unrelated skeletons like his involvement in the ELQ stock manipulations years prior. Despite these pitfalls, desperation often breeds audacity in Port Charles, and Martin, backed into a corner by the will's impending unveiling, might lunge at framing Drew anyway. The attorney's unraveling could mirror classic soap tropes, where hubris leads to hasty confessions in heated confrontations, perhaps during a stormy family summit at the mansion itself. Fans theorize that Willow Tate, Drew's steadfast ally with her own baggage from medical crises and ethical dilemmas, might get dragged into the crossfire, accused of abetting the scheme through fabricated alibis or falsified documents. This dual framing would amplify the drama, intertwining personal loyalties with legal peril and testing Willow's resolve amid her ongoing struggles with identity and redemption. Martin's rush intensifies as Tracy's box reaches Lulu, whose own recovery arc from coma-induced amnesia adds emotional depth. Will she decode the will's secrets before chaos erupts? As the dust settles from this revelation, General Hospital's narrative promises ripple effects across the canvas. Martin's next chess move, whether a bold accusation or a covert plea deal, hinges on outmaneuvering Ronnie's conscience and Drew's resilience. Stay glued to your screens, dear viewers, because in the world of Quartermain intrigue, no secret stays buried forever, and the fallout could redefine alliances in ways we never anticipated. From whispered boardroom deals to tearful courtroom testimonies, this saga captures the essence of Port Charles' enduring allure where love, legacy, and lies collide in spectacular fashion. Next, we will learn about the explosive alliance forming between Carly Corinthos and Valentin Casadini as they plot a high-stakes breakout that could shatter Jack Brennan's world forever. In the shadowy underbelly of Port Charles' intrigue, whispers of a daring prison escape are circulating faster than a Corinthos family secret. Valentin Casadini, the enigmatic Russian heir with a knack for turning captivity into opportunity, appears poised on the brink of liberation. An unlikely partner, Carly Corinthos, might just be the key to unlocking his chains. Recent developments hint that this duo's simmering grudge against the relentless Jack Brennan is about to boil over into something truly catastrophic. Picture this: Valentin, once a master manipulator of the Casadini legacy, now trading his isolated cell for a chance at vengeance, all thanks to Carly's cunning persuasion. Their collaboration isn't born of blind loyalty, but from a shared thirst for payback, where every whispered plan could either topple empires or drag them both into deeper peril. As fans of General Hospital know, alliances like this rarely end without fireworks, and with Valentin's transfer looming, the stage is set for a plot twist that echoes through the halls of power in Port Charles. The catalyst for this seismic shift traces back to Carly's masterful negotiation with Brennan, the WASB operative who's been pulling strings like a puppet master in over his head. Frustrated by Valentin's ironclad silence during interrogations, Brennan had pinned his hopes on leveraging visits from young Charlotte Casadini to crack the Casadini fortress. But Carly, ever the shrewd businesswoman with a mother's fierce intuition, played her cards brilliantly by invoking the delicate balance of Lulu Spencer's world. She painted a vivid picture of how dragging Charlotte across oceans to Switzerland would upend the girl's fragile stability, school routines disrupted, friendships strained, and emotional scars reopened from years of Casadini chaos. Carly argued that such trips would only harden Valentin's resolve turning potential intel into a wall of resentment. Her words struck a chord, convincing Brennan that relocating Valentin closer to American soil was the smarter play, one that could facilitate controlled interactions without the logistical nightmare of international travel. In doing so, Carly not only bought Valentin proximity to his daughter, but also sowed the seeds for his potential flight, transforming a simple transfer request into a Trojan horse for rebellion. Speculation runs rife about the exact destination for Valentin's impending move, with Pentonville Penitentiary emerging as the frontrunner in this high-drama relocation saga, while Carly floated the idea of another WSB black site facility, perhaps one tucked away in the misty outskirts of upstate New York, complete with its own array of surveillance gadgets and no-nonsense guards. Pentonville's familiarity in Port Charles lore makes it an irresistible fit. This aging fortress of stone and steel has housed its share of soap legends, from Jason Morgan's brooding stints to Sonny Corinthus's temporary downfalls, and it's already primed with cells that could accommodate Valentin's sophisticated tastes. Imagine the irony: the Casa Dini prince, accustomed to caviar and chateaus, now plotting amid the clanging bars where so many Port Charles foes have met their match. Initially dead set on a fortress-like isolation chamber, far from prying eyes think underground bunkers with biometric locks and round-the-clock monitoring might be loosening those reins, just enough to spell disaster. His impatience to unravel the puzzle of Valentin's knowledge is blinding him to the risks, as if the allure of breakthrough intel outweighs the peril of a bird slipping its cage. This calculated gamble could backfire spectacularly, thrusting Valentin back into the heart of Port Charles, where old allies and enemies alike await. At the core of Brennan's fervor lies an all-consuming fixation on Caesar Faison's enigmatic final project, a shadowy endeavor that has the WASB agent unraveling threads with the intensity of a man possessed. Faison, that notorious villain whose schemes once terrorized the waterfront with counterfeit empires and deadly obsessions, left behind a legacy of unfinished business that Brennan can't ignore. More driven than even Anna Devane, the seasoned spy whose own history with Faison runs deep with betrayal and lost loves, Brennan pores over classified files late into the night, decoding cryptic messages and tracing financial trails that snake through European banks. He envisions this project as the missing piece to a global threat, perhaps a bioweapon blueprint hidden in plain sight, or a network of sleeper agents poised to strike. Valentin, holding fragments of this forbidden knowledge from his own tangled ties to Faison's world, becomes Brennan's unwilling oracle. Yet, as the transfer inches closer, Valentin's mind races beyond mere relocation. Swapping Steinmauer's remote chill for a stateside cell is a step, but true liberation calls like a siren song. He dreams of reuniting with Charlotte not through glass partitions, but in the open air, free from the WSB's watchful gaze, and he's willing to pull every lever to make it happen. Enter Carly once more, the wild card whose involvement could tip the scales from containment to chaos. Valentin, sensing her vulnerability to righteous fury, might soon reach out through back channels a smuggled note or a coded message via Port Charles intermediary begging for her aid in orchestrating the ultimate getaway. But freedom comes at a steep price for Carly, whose life is already a tightrope walk between her cafe empire, family loyalties, and the ever-looming shadow of federal scrutiny. Agreeing to facilitate an escape would invite scrutiny from the PCPD, risk her bonds with Sonny and the Quartermaines, and potentially unravel the fragile peace she's clawed back after years of turmoil. Still, Valentin's silver tongue could dangle irresistible bait, visions of Brennan's downfall, painted in vivid strokes of humiliation and defeat. He might whisper of insider dossiers that expose Brennan's overreach, or promise a strike that leaves the agent stripped of power, wandering the docks like a fallen king. In Valentin's eyes, this isn't just evasion, it's poetic justice, a way to honor the Casa Dini creed of striking back harder. He could even escalate the pitch, framing the plan as a lethal takedown, where Carlyle's insider knowledge of Brennan's routines becomes the weapon that ends his meddling once and for all. To seal the deal, Valentin would prey on Carlyle's deepest maternal instincts, dredging up the nightmare of Jocelyn Jax's recent brush with danger, a harrowing ordeal involving shadowy threats and near-fatal encounters that still haunt Carlyle's sleepless nights. He could recount fabricated details of Brennan's role, claiming the agent turned a blind eye to risks that endangered Joss, all to pressure Valentin for information. "Remember how he left your daughter exposed?" Valentin might say, his voice dripping with feigned empathy, stirring the pot of Carlyle's unquenched rage. This emotional judo isn't new to Valentin. He's a virtuoso at twisting knives in old wounds, drawing on his own history of lost children and fractured families to mirror Carlyle's pain. She, in turn, harbors her own vendetta, having already woven subtle webs to undermine Brennan, perhaps tipping off anonymous sources or planting misleading trails in his investigations. The question simmering beneath her steely facade is the depth of her commitment. Will she stop at sabotage or dive headlong into treason? Carlyle's track record suggests she's no stranger to bending rules for loved ones, from harboring fugitives to defying FBI tails, but allying with a Casa Dini raises the stakes to life-altering heights. With Carlyle's relocation pitch granting Valentin a window of vulnerability, the mechanics of his escape begin to crystallize in fans' imaginations. The transfer itself could become a powder keg. Envision a convoy rumbling through rural highways, flanked by WSB escorts in unmarked SUVs, only for a diversion, maybe a staged accident, or a loyal Casa Dini hacker jamming signals to create the chaos needed for Valentin to vanish into the night. If that fails, Carlyle's direct involvement might shine through, perhaps smuggling tools via a prison visit disguised as family counsel, or coordinating with outside players like a reformed Ava Jerome or a begrudgingly helpful Felicia Scorpio. Her proposition has inadvertently armed Valentin with proximity to resources smugglers on the docks, safe houses in the suburbs that Steinmauer could never provide. Yet, this partnership teeters on a knife's edge. Carlyle's conscience might balk at the 11th hour, forcing Valentin to improvise a solo bolt that leaves her in the clear, but him exposed. Either way, the ripple effects promise to engulf Port Charles, with Brennan's obsession blinding him to the storm brewing right under his nose. As General Hospital teases these perilous entanglements, the Carly-Valentin axis stands as a tinderbox ready to ignite, fraught with betrayals, narrow escapes, and moral crossroads that define soap excellence. Brennan, so laser-focused on Faison's ghost, may soon face the very reckoning he sought to deliver, his secure world crumbling under the weight of underestimation. Viewers, brace for the adrenaline rush. Will Carly cross the line into full complicity, or will Valentin's manipulations unravel before they bear fruit? The coming episodes pulse with tension, where every glance and guarded word hints at the shocking upheavals ahead. Next, we will dive deep into the escalating threats surrounding Anna Devane as she edges closer to unraveling the mystery of Caesar Faison's fate, whether he's truly gone or lurking in the shadows once more. In the intricate web of Port Charles intrigue, Anna's relentless pursuit has placed her in the crosshairs of unknown enemies, heightening the tension for fans who have followed her storied career as a WSB operative. Her determination stems from years of battling deception in the Casa Dini family circles, where resurrections are as common as dramatic confrontations at the Metro Court. As she pores over classified files and shadowy leads, Anna uncovers fragments suggesting Faison's influence lingers far beyond his supposed demise, potentially tying into larger conspiracies involving international espionage and forbidden experiments. Picture this: Anna, ever the vigilant detective, slips into her sleek black sedan after a late-night meeting with informants, her mind racing with suspicions about a network of operatives who might still serve the enigmatic Faison. The air grows thick with foreboding as she starts the engine, oblivious to the sinister presence in the backseat, a gloved hand emerging like a ghost from the darkness, pressing a chloroform-soaked cloth over her mouth. Her struggle is brief but fierce, her training kicking in as she reaches for her weapon. But the fumes overwhelm her sharp instincts, leaving her slumped and vulnerable to whoever orchestrated this bold ambush. This chilling scene echoes past perils Anna has faced, such as her entanglements with the DVX or her tense standoffs with Valentin, reminding viewers of how her personal life often collides disastrously with her professional duties. Speculation runs rampant about the identity of Anna's attacker, with fingers pointing toward remnants of Faison's inner circle, perhaps a loyal henchman disguised in shadows to protect long-buried secrets. Could it be Jen Sidwell, the elusive tech genius Anna recently referenced in Coded Communications, or Professor Henry Dalton, whose academic facade hides experiments in cryogenic preservation that mirror Helena Casadine's notorious stasis pods? Anna's own words to Jason Morgan just hours before the attack reveal her growing paranoia. She confessed her need to confirm Faison's death personally, haunted by the parade of deceased foes who've clawed their way back. Think Drew Kane's agonizing revival or Stavros Kasadine's icy return from the dead. Helena's groundbreaking, if unethical, stasis technology, which preserved her son and manipulated so many lives in Port Charles, forms the backbone of these theories, suggesting Faison might have accessed similar methods to cheat mortality. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in the fortified walls of Steinmauer Prison, Switzerland, an unlikely alliance brews between Carly Spencer and Valentin Casadini. United by a shared vendetta against Jack Brennan, the cunning WASB director whose actions have scarred their families irreparably. Carly, with her trademark blend of fierce maternal protectiveness and street-smart cunning, has been making clandestine visits to Valentin, smuggling in intel and forging a pact born of mutual desperation for justice. Their daughters Jocelyn Jax for Carly, groomed against her will into the dangerous world of WASB fieldwork under Brennan's manipulative oversight, and Charlotte Casadini for Valentin, nearly lost to the crossfire of Brennan's rogue assistant's assassination attempt, serve as the emotional fuel for this revenge plot. Imagine Carly's steely resolve as she recounts Jocelyn's harrowing initiation, where she was fast-tracked into high-stakes operations, her college dreams derailed by Brennan's calculated recruitment tactics that preyed on her vulnerabilities. Valentin, no stranger to betrayal given his Casadini lineage, seethes at how Brennan's demands nearly cost him his daughter, insisting on more visits from Charlotte to extract classified data, a ploy that Lulu Spencer wisely shut down to shield her own child from the fallout. In a pivotal conversation amid the prison's echoing corridors, Carly leans in, her voice a whisper of calculated persuasion. "Jack's playing us all, but if we bring you closer to home, we can turn the tables, make him regret ever crossing paths with the Spencer and Casadini bloodlines." This suggestion to relocate Valentin from the remote Steinmauer to a domestic facility like the infamous Pentonville Penitentiary isn't just logistical, it's a masterstroke, positioning him nearer to Port Charles chaos where he can leverage old connections and perhaps even stage an escape to settle scores. Pentonville's grim history, from housing the likes of Sonny Corinthos to witnessing brutal power plays, adds layers of irony as Valentin envisions reclaiming his freedom amid its iron bars. Delving deeper into the chloroforming mystery, the timing couldn't be more suspicious, aligning perfectly with Anna's breakthrough on Faison's final Endeavor, a clandestine project blending AI surveillance with biological enhancements. Spearheaded by Sidwell and Dalton under Faison's shadowy directive, Anna's confrontation with what she believed was Faison's corpse left her uneasy, the body's pristine condition defying natural decay, much like the preserved relics from Helena's lab that once held Mikos Casadin's frozen ambitions. New details emerge in fan theories. Perhaps Faison collaborated with Helena on a prototype device that not only halts aging, but reprograms loyalties, explaining why Anna's probes have stirred such violent retaliation. If C, the elusive mastermind behind recent WSB leaks, turns out to be Faison in disguise, it would shatter alliances across Port Charles, forcing characters like Robert Scorpio to revisit old wounds from their Faison hunts. The very next day, as Anna's disappearance sends ripples through the WSB and Port Charles elite, Carly slips back into Steinmauer for an urgent update to Valentin. Her face etched with urgency as she describes the attack in vivid detail. Anna's too close, Carly warns, her eyes flashing with the fire of someone who's lost too much to indifference, and if they're targeting her. Your name's next on the list, Fazen's ghosts. Don't forgive loose ends. Valentin absorbs this, his mind whirling with the players he once commanded. Sidwell's hidden labs in Eastern Europe, Dalton's fabricated credentials masking black market dealings, and the nagging possibility that Fazen endures, pulling strings from a cryogenic vault. This revelation ignites Valentin's protective instincts toward Anna, a flame that Brennan's interference barring her prison visits under the guise of security has only fanned higher, reminding him of their fractured romance amid the Casa Dini curses. Enter a familiar face striding into Port Charles on the heels of Anna's peril, a development that screams orchestrated drama and sets the stage for Valentin's heroic intervention. Whispers among insiders suggest this newcomer could be a double agent with ties to the Fazen project, arriving just as Anna's car is found abandoned on a foggy roadside, her communicator silent. Valentin, armed with Carly's intel and his unparalleled knowledge of the conspirators' hideouts from abandoned Casa Dini estates to offshore bunkers positions himself as the ideal rescuer, driven by lingering love that transcends prison walls and past betrayals. In a pulse-pounding sequence, envision Valentin slipping his guards during the transfer to Pentonville, racing to Anna's aid with the precision of a man who's evaded death countless times, perhaps enlisting Jason Morgan's tactical expertise for a midnight extraction that exposes deeper layers of the plot. As Valentin orchestrates Anna's salvation, his escape becomes a catalyst for broader upheaval, potentially reigniting his rivalry with Brennan and drawing in Carly for a full-scale confrontation. Imagine the fallout. Anna awakening in a safe house, piecing together clues with Valentin by her side, their reunion laced with unspoken regrets and renewed purpose against the Fazen Spectre. This alliance could unearth artifacts from Helena Stasis experiments, vials of serum hidden in Spoon Island ruins that confirm Fazen's survival, forcing a reckoning with the Casa Dini legacy. For Jocelyn and Charlotte, it means closure on their traumas, with Carly vowing to dismantle Brennan's operations brick by brick, while Valentin reclaims his role as a flawed yet formidable force in Port Charles society. Yet, the shadows deepen with invented twists. What if the gloved hand belonged not to a henchman, but to a disguised Lulu Spencer, coerced by Brennan to protect her family's secrets? Or perhaps Drew Kane, revived and radicalized, harbors grudges against Anna for past oversights in his identity crisis. These elements amplify the stakes, blending personal vendettas with global threats as Anna and Valentin's partnership evolves into a beacon of resistance. Fans can only speculate on the explosive revelations ahead, but one thing's certain: this chapter in General Hospital's saga promises betrayals, rescues, and resurrections that will keep viewers glued to their screens.